let's create clickable links on Chartjs with React Chartjs 2. So if I click on this data point, it will open up a website here nicely. And of course, if I click on this one here, it will open up chartjs3.com and we can keep on going. So let's start to explore how to do this. So here we have our basic template. Here it's really blank. And what we're going to do now is create our clickable links. First of all, we have to create the chart. So what we're going to do here is a few things. First of all, at the very top here, I'm going to import specific items. And what I need to import in this case would be basically the line chart. So I'm going to import the line chart, or basically the line component from the React-Chart.js number 2. So that's the first one that we need, or well, one of them. But I should have here above, of course, the entire Chart.js library component and everything that's related to the line chart. So we want to create a line chart that's with this specific component. However, what we need to do as well is we need to import, and what we're going to do now is we're going to import specific items. We're going to say chart as chart.js, then put a comma, and then we have to consider what are all the components that we need to load related to the line chart. Well, first of all, we're going to create a line element because we want to draw the line. Next, what we need to do here, because this is a category axis, so we're going to say a category scale, that's for the x-axis, and then we have also the linear scale because we have the number values on the right, or sorry, on the left side that's going up, which is on the y. So say linear scale, comma, then what we want to do is, besides these lines that we have here, we should also have a point element because we want to we might want to draw those dots on the data point. Once we did that, we want to have the tooltip and the legend. So we're going to say tooltip, comma, legend. And then we're going to say here from, and it's a string value chart.js. So once we did this, all right, so now we're done here. The next thing what we want to do here is to start registering these items. And register is just another word for activating these items specifically. So now we load them or we imported them, but we didn't say please activate them. So what we're going to say here, Chartjs. So I'm just going to grab this variable here. Say Chartjs dot register, and then what I want to do is parentheses and then register everything in here. So this register here will grab all of these elements that we want, or basically components that we want, and use. So once we did that, we're done here, semicolon. If we save this, of course, nothing happens here. And the reason why nothing happens, we didn't activate anything yet, or we didn't draw anything yet, because we have this here. So what we're going to do now is just going to create here basically the chart itself. So what I want to do then is here, we're going to say here, just after this one, we put an enter. And we can just say here another div as our container. And we can give it a style. I'll just leave it for now. And then we're going to say it here, because what is the item we want to load? It was the line chart. So I'm going to grab this line chart here and we put that in there. Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, that is not what I want to do. Alright, so that's it. Alright, so then here we have the line, and then we have the closing of that line. Of course, we're not done, because within here, what I need to do is the next thing is to get the objects. What are the objects? Well, in this case, the objects are the data object, because we want to grab the data. Let's say here equals data. Then we have another one is the options. So I'm going to say here options, and the options will be equal to the options object. And then finally we have here what is that? That should be the, I guess, eventually on click. We'll hold on with the on click because we will do that later on. And let's zoom this a little bit more in. There we are. All right, so now we have this here, and what I want to do now is I want these objects to be loaded. And these objects, if I save right now, it just gives us an error because we didn't define them. Let's start to define them. We define them before the return. And the reason why is because the return returns basically the values. So we need to load them before that. So we say constant data equals And then in here, this data object, we're going to say here, first of all, what do we need? Well, just the basic stuff that we're familiar with Chartjs. So the labels here, I can just say here, Monday, Tuesday, and then we put in here Wednesday, comma. Next thing what we would like to have is the data set itself. So we say data sets, which is an array, and then curly braces. Within here, we're going to say here the label, which will be the name of the legend. We can just say here weekdays, comma. Then what I want to do here is the data. So we want some values here, which is an array. So we're going to say here 30, 33, and 66, comma. Then what we want to have is define a color. So because it's a line chart, we can say here a border color and just make this aqua or blue or something like that. I'm using aqua quite often, so let's maintain that for now. So once we got that, what I want to do as well is finally is maybe to give it tension. So we have a line that maybe that goes up and down. So we're going to say tension, and we're not align only up and down, but make it more elastic so it looks more curved. So we're going to say here 0.4. So once I did that, semicolon here, save, we get of course another error. So we have here this data set. Oh, that's a nice reminder. So watch out here, colon, save. So now we did that. The last error we need to solve is the options, because the options is also another constant, although we don't have to define anything in this constant here for now. So we save that, there we are. So now we have this nice curved line, and let's reduce the size of this. To do that, I want to do it in this div container here. We're going to say here style, that will equal curly braces, and then in here, what I'm going to say here is another curly braces, and I'm going to say here the width. Let's put this on 80%, but of course this is a string value, and we put another comma here. Let's say a padding of 20 pixels, and that is also a string value. Save this, refresh, or it refreshes automatically. You can see here we have some padding, and that works quite nicely. If you want to have this color inside here, the background, we can say here background color. You can just grab this, put that in there, and we say here background color, save. There we are. Alright, now we have these items here, but what I want to do is I want to click on this, and the moment I click on this, I should jump to another website or a specific item. So to do this, what I have to do here is, well, let's start to put in some or we'll do that later on, the variables. We can just start to activate that. So how do we activate this? Well, we need to do a few items here. I'm going to put in here another object, and this object is the on click with capital C, which is on click with capital C. Of course, if I do this, I need to make sure that this here will be referenced as well. So what I'm going to say here is a constant on click equals something. Of course, right now it's blank, so we have to put in here something, but we'll need something else as well, because what I need is the reference on our chart. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say here ref equals, and then we say chart ref. This is very important, because when we click on the chart, we want to basically grab the this value, and the this value is the canvas that we're clicking on. So this reference refers to the chart we're clicking on. Alright, so now we have this here, but this here must be imported as well. So we're going to say here enter and import, and we can say here use the reference, which is a built-in React component. So we say here from string React. There we are. Alright, so we have this one here. Probably I need to move this one up just to make sure we got that. Alright, and then you can see here chart ref is not defined. Of course, I realized that I didn't define this yet. So what we can do here is start to define this as well. So to define this, what we're going to do here is another constant, and this constant is the chart ref equals use ref, use ref, and then here parentheses. So this use ref refers to the upper one, and let's move this just above the on click, because we need to load this before we click on it, so we know that we're clicking, or that the click will be recorded when we click on the canvas. Alright, now we have this, and what I want to do here is start to work on the event here. So what we're going to do here now is just the following. We're going to say here equals the event, which is basically a click event, and then we're going to create here a callback functionality. And what I want to do here, if I save this right now, alright, this works. And if I click on this, you can see here, of course, nothing is showing up yet. The reason why is we need to now start to communicate how we clicked on it and where we click on it, and if we click on a specific data point or the circle. So what we're going to do here, constant, we have that one, sorry, and we're going to say here, or what we can do here, the console log, and say here, get elements at event, and this function is a built-in Chartjs functionality. Then we're going to say here chart ref, which is basically wherever we click on, or this specific canvas that we clicked on. Then we say here dot current, and once we do this, and we can save this, there we are, we can say it's not defined. Alright, hold on, get elements at event, chart current, chart ref here, that should be, of course, not that, my bad, dot current. Save that. Alright, let's see here, get elements at event ref, and of course, my bad, event as well. Alright, what's going on here? So what is the issue here? Alright, I realize now, I am thinking, well, this is correct. I did not record yet the get element at events component. So I'm going to copy this, put it in there. Sorry, that's really bad from my side. I forgot to do that one. That's why the command here was incorrect, or was giving us an error. However, this entire command here is correct. Now, if I save this, refresh, open up developer tab, and if I click now somewhere, you can see here we get a blank array. But if I click on this item, we get a array with the point element, basically all the information that we need. And this point element is basically the coordinates for that specific circle, which we needed because of the point element here. So you can see these are all now starting to relate back to each other. So what we want to do now is, of course, not only this, because you can see here we have the item. It shows the item if we click on it, but if we click on a white space, it doesn't show, or it shows an empty array. So what I want to do is, first of all, create an if statement. So we filter out only if we click on the point element. If we don't click on it, we should not show any blank data. It's just a waste of information. We don't need that. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to create a if statement. I'm going to say here if, and then basically here we're going to just grab all of this, copy, put that in there, and then we're going to say here dot length. So if there would be a length of larger than 0, so there's no blank arrays, in that case I want to say console log array, or basically show us a value. If I save that, refresh, if I click on this, now it works. If I click here somewhere, you see it doesn't show anything. It filters out the blank data. So this reduces the amount of excess data, and now we can start to work on tracking specifically what we're clicking on. So let's look at what we clicked on basically. So we clicked on, and you can see here the information that we get. We get an index 0 because we have only one element in here, and then we have here the data set, which is very interesting because we get the data set index 0, but you also get the index number of the data point, which is number 1. So if I click on this, this would be data point index number 2, while the data set is index 0. Alright, so we have this. Now let's start to work on putting this data into good use. So what I want to do is I want to extract the data set index and the index number. I want to extract these two values now. So how do we do this? Well, let's do here a constant, and we're going to give this a name, the data set index, I guess, or let's give it something else, the data set index, or click. And the reason why I'm saying something else is I want to avoid using the exact same name here, just to avoid the confusion. So say click dataset index, and we say here equal, and we can say here we're going to grab all of this because it's basically that. Then what we need to get is the index 0 and then dot dataset. So we say here we have all of this, and then we say here index 0 dot dataset index. So once I have this, I can do a console log and show you this specific value. This should always be 0 now. If I refresh, if I press on 1, 0, press on this 0, press on that one 0. Alright, confirmed. Next one is the index of 0, or basically the data point index. Since we know the structure now, I guess we could just copy almost everything and just put them in here. I'll just say here the data point. I'll just give it this data point. Say here this, and then here the index itself. And just grab this and put the data point in here, and let's make that small. That makes more sense. Save that, refresh. Click on this. Now you can see index 0 or dataset 0 and index 1 for the data point. And here it should be index 0 and data point number 2. Alright, everything else here is now confirmed. I'm going to remove all these console logs. And what I want to, because this is the reason why this becomes very useful, is we want to make a clickable item and then open a specific window for the website. So we're going to say dot window.open. And what we want to do here is put in here basically a specific value. And let's make this a string right now and say http / and then say www.chart.js. Let's say chartjs3.com. That's my personal website. And then what we want to do here, comma, underscore blank to open it up in a new website. So if I do this, alright, we get here a item click, hold on, is assigned to a value that's never been used. Alright, you can just ignore that for now. It still works. Click on this, and you can see here now by default it opens up in Chartjs 3. So if I do here, it clicks and it works as well. So this is a confirmed for us. Of course, we don't want this, and this is probably the error here. It says, well, we have these elements or constant variables, but they refer to nowhere. It's a waste of code. We should not use them. Very clever. But of course, we're going to use this now. So how do we do this? Let's go up here. I'm going to put here comma, because we have now a hard-coded website. I don't want a hard-coded website. I want to soft-code it. So since we know the index numbers, we could say here, for example, link, and put in an array, which is a string value, and put in here, for example, http / www.chartjs.org, comma. Then we have another one here, http / www.chartjs3.com, and then maybe here another one is http, and we can put in here, for example, google.com or something like that. Google.com. Save this. So now what I want to do is I want to extract these values and put them in here. So how do we do this? Well, remember here the click of the data point, and we have here the data set information. All we need to do here is basically go back to the main. So how do we go back to this specific data, and then to the data set, and then to the link? Well, all we have to do here, let's do a console log and just say here the data. It's the data object that gives us access. So if I refresh and now I click on something, we open up a website, but we also get information including the data sets. As you can see here, there's all this information. Wonderful. Now we can extract the link value by going first to datasets index 0. So what I want to do now is say here data.datasets index. Well, remember we had the index already here. We click dataset index, put it in there. Then we say here dot. Is it data? No, I don't want the data, but I want to have the link because that was the one we grabbed, and then in the link, and then let me repeat this. So we can from datasets to the link here. Then the index number of wherever we clicked on. So we're going to say here the data point. Grab that, put it in there, and now I want to say, well, let's comment this out for now, save this, and see if we get the link value. So if we click on this, we get a link value of chartjs3.com. If I click on this, should be Google, and this one should be chartjs.org. There we are. So it shows all the values here. Let's say here, constant link equals that, and then we can put that in here as a variable, and we can remove this, and let's remove all of these excess codes here. Save this, refresh. If I click on this now, there we are, we get now chartjs3.com. This should be chartjs.org, there we are, and finally we get here google.com. Beautiful. So it works all very nice. And that's basically how we can create these clickable links.